Well, hello, everybody. I'm sure you're comfortable and you know about the concept of the butterfly effect. Small changes in variables can create huge impact in the future. How these apply to vulnerability management and to security? First of all, you are curious. That's my bio. But mainly, I am happy to be here with you. Curiosity is the key for security professionals. Curiosity is what drives you every day. In these 2 days, we had amazing conversation. So I'm really grateful to be here with you. Let me start with confirming stereotypes. Italian loves pizza. Yes. It's true, it's true. So I want to share a story with you. It's Sunday evening, and I order pizza for my family. We eat it, and Monday morning, as a really good husband should do, I threw the trash. The next day, I had another small bag of trash, and when I entered my building compound, I found out that a guy took this dirty pizza paper box and moved them to the paper recycling one. Now, what I want to tell you with this. Good intention do not make up for lacking knowledge. You cannot recycle pizza boxes. First of all, pizza boxes are already recycled. And second, when they are soaked in oil, is a contaminant for the paper process. So, first of all, don't do it. Don't try to put the pizza boxes there. And how these relate to us is about what you try to do with good intention, you also need to fill it with knowledge. You need to know what you are doing to be able to protect the company. You try to protect the company without having the right visibility. This is something that I saw the most, and maybe I did as well in the beginning of my career. The second point is try to focus all patching and remediation effort on core applications. How many times the business comes to you and tells you, can you make me a business case to secure my core application? It doesn't really make sense. We will see later on why. And the last point, try to remediate vulnerabilities without considering the attacker's point of view. Who is going after you? That's what matters the most. You can't protect what you don't know. You saw this phrase everywhere, everywhere. In technical books and also in management book. Every management book states, if you don't know it, you cannot measure it. If you cannot measure it, you cannot control it. Ideal world, utopia. Then there is the reality. CMDB's inventory, they are never complete. I saw companies spending millions in refining their inventories. And once they were finished, somebody was going there and asking, okay, do we have a list of URLs that we manage? It was not in scope. Scanning tools depend on security whitelisting. So are all the firewalls allowing you to see what's behind them? If people don't want to be scanned on purpose, can they create a shadow IT? Yes, every day. Are IPSs properly configured? How many times you saw the SOC running? We are under attack, and it's one of your scanners. Local branches, as we also saw in presentation early today, they buy services, and they don't tell anybody. You receive the invoice 3 months after, and you discover that you have domains, clouds, services, and they are the last grade. So, what we should do? Agent-based detection. Allow me to make a bold statement. If today you rely on scanning only for your infrastructure and your vulnerability management program, you are obsolete. You need agents everywhere possible to defy what we said before. You don't have to rely on firewalls, on security policies. You need to see the most that you can, and you have to have update as much as often you can. This morning, you have a 0 day. You scan your network maybe next week. When will you be able to respond? You scan your network, and we heard in these 2 days, attack surface, attack surface. Which is the biggest attack surface? Laptop users. When you scan them, maybe your company is global, you scan Asia, Europe, US, you see in average 30% of your landscape. What about the rest? So a 0-day comes out, you got a CVE attached to it, and the CVE is empty. So how do you respond? Also, your scanner is not able to catch it, as well your agent. But what your agent does as well is sorting out on every machine which software is installed, which process is running. So you can pull out this information and respond even without knowing how the CVE and the CVSS will look like, because you know you have to respond. Integration with IT tools. So you have, most probably, systematic automation for patching, for upgrading. You have antivirus. You have asset software. You need to merge all this information to find out which hosts are missing your agent and cover this gap. The agent needs to be the basis of everything you do, because it's a revolution, really. It changed the way how we approach vulnerability management completely. And cross-check with other agent and endpoint. How come the antivirus is seeing 10,000 endpoints, and in your scanner you see 7,000? Shadow IT. Even unwillingly. They are not doing it on purpose. They are just doing it. And I experienced it personally. You go and you ask the people, can you run authenticated scan? And they reply to you, we already have these 100,000 vulnerabilities. Why you want more? Well, we need more. We need to have visibility. You need full visibility to decide what to prioritize. Internet-facing and cloud. Cloud connectors for full visibility. We spoke before in the previous presentation of Pascal. Security containers. Security containers are the most volatile thing that exists now. They go up and down. You don't see them. If you don't have a product that goes and check the containers, you don't see anything. The same is with cloud. They create virtual machines. They shut them down. They develop. The DevOps are constantly updating. You need to have visibility on this. Global registers. This is not something that you should underlook. So your company bought addresses. You have assets in your inventories, but you need to detect what's alive on these subnets. You will be surprised. And there are companies, there are grading services, third parties. They constantly scan internet, and they tell you what's there, what's yours. They also tell you the vulnerabilities that you have. And this is a service for you, but it's also a service for your attacker. So you should be at least, I'm not saying one step ahead of them, but at least playing the same game. Define your critical assets from security standpoint. Now, this comes down to the core of what is important for us. You ask the business, and the business tells you, these applications are critical for me. And they are critical because they make money. We have to respect that. We have to respect that, but we have to embed our point of view there. And if these applications are 10 years old or 20 years old, you can be sure that they don't want to touch them because they're still making money. And if you think it's a long time span, The Matrix came out in 1999. So The Matrix is 20 years old. Would you say it's an old movie? Maybe from perspective and perception point of view, you will say no. 20 years, just fly. IT. IT are the most biggest part of people that touch your systems, and they say, these systems are critical to my service delivery and availability. I cannot patch them. I need to shut down production. You are causing me a problem with your security patch. And then it comes security. The top 3 reasons company gets hacked. Successful phishing. It's not a surprise for any of us. So users and endpoints are our weakest link. Even if you run phishing campaign and you educate your users and you hit results of 10% or 5% or even 1%, it just means that 1 out of 100 people in your company is going to click. So it's almost certain that something will pass through. Now, you need to sanitize this. You just cannot let it be. But you need also to make sure that your users know what to do. Second point is credential leak or exploit. Again, you spend millions, you have your policies, they tell you you need 25 character, password complexity, then when developers arrive, build a script and put the password in clear text. Or you have a SharePoint or GitHub. Developers go on GitHub, they create their profile, they think it's private, and maybe it's not. There are tools in GitHub to scan GitHub for passwords. Try it afterwards. Misconfigured application. This is something that is going to affect you all over. Misconfiguration is something that is difficult to catch, and it's something that will put in danger everything you're doing. Multi-focus remediation. What to do? Okay, I stated all the issues. Now that I threw to you all these problems, I also want to propose something, some discussion points that you can go back and think about. The vulnerability management program looks like, overall, like this for everybody. You discover, you assess, you report, remediate, and verify. But you have hundreds of thousands of vulnerabilities. How to prioritize? What to do? You need to build, you need to think and you need to build your top 10 vulnerabilities and weighted metrics. So the CVSS score is not enough alone. You need to see and probably also build some kind of algorithm that tells you how the asset is exposed. How many of these assets? Should you respond to a CVSS 10? Yes. But if it's on 1,000 servers that are in your ring-fence zone, should you first respond to a CVSS 8 that you have on 20,000 laptops? And the answer is yes. Yes. You have to decide which perimeter you have to close first. Prioritize that. Verify the resolution of the same day. And this is why we go back to the agent-based detection. People tell you that they patched. People tell you that they solved. Sometimes they really did. The server didn't reboot. A DLL hung. And the problem is still there. And maybe it's there on an internet-facing asset. And you think you're okay. 1 week later, when you go to scan, you see you're not okay. But in these 5 days, maybe you have a shell in your application. Now, this is a fun comic from Joe West. Joe West is a guy from SpecterOps. SpecterOps is the team that does red teaming. And they also created Bloodhound, the tool, the hacking tool, actually. So for some of you that used it, he created this. And he basically depicts what happens in a company every day. You have people that knows the theory explaining to IT. And IT doesn't understand because they don't speak the common language. You have the CISO talking with vendors. Every vendor promises you something. You have the compliance that tells you, we need to be compliant with these policies and with these regulations. Yeah, but I'm not compliant on this. Okay, raise an exception. You sign the exception, does the signed paper make you more secure? Not at all. And the C-level, what they can do, they release budget, right? And this is what is happening every day, especially now that there is more awareness in security. They release budget and they think that the problem is solved. And now on the right, we have our black hat hacker. They say, what are they doing? They develop security controls. They think everything is safe. But yeah, did you take over the system? Yes. Why? Because he entered where you weren't looking. So how to do the same. You need to choose the threat actor you are protecting against. It's a risk appetite. And you need to defend against them. So this is the real butterfly effect. Fixing something that the attackers will go against is saving you 90% of your issues, 90% of the time. If you have, of course, if you are targeted by government-sponsored hacker, okay, you are in trouble. But how many script kiddies, activists, industrial espionage even, it's not a secret, it happens. You need to act, you need to think like them. That's the real butterfly effect that we can put in place. Threat intelligence. What exists out there? What is being sold? You have one newspaper titles, and everybody are going to fix this because it's on the news. But it's what is happening in the dark web? Or do you know if an exploit is being sold? The criminals are going and buying exploits as a service. Exploit exists in cloud as a service. You need to attack a company. You don't have to know anything. You just select, you buy your bitcoins or cryptocurrency, you go in the cloud, and they give you crime as a service. They give you a result. Internet facing, that's the layer that you need to sanitize the most. That's the layer where most of the time people are getting in. Internet, what you expose. I saw a lot of people patching, for example, for Bluekeep. But then you enter in Shodan and you search for Bluekeep and you have 1 million computer exposed out there. And we saw it's not even a human sometimes that is doing the hacking. We saw in previous presentation, botnets. Botnets are just going out and searching for this. So all the security that you have in place is because the vendor is thinking for you. And it's telling you, the hacker is going to make reconnaissance. Yeah? And your system will send you alarm. No. No, they don't do it. Because other company did it for them. They just search what you have vulnerable in your most exposed layer. You go in Google and you search powered by Joomla. You can also put the version. And you get out thousands of blogs with a vulnerable version. This is what the bots are doing. They are not triggering your alarm. The people, the attackers, are not behaving as you think they are behaving. That's why you need to work with them. You need to work with company. You also, if you have the possibility, of course, you have to build an in-house service of this. They are going to spread small attacks over time. They are not going to bomb your internet and you recognize. Internal threats. This is something that is really, really, really overlooked. You trust all of your admin, you trust all of your people, they have access to everything. Passwords are left in servers. Remote protocols are open. They have the most privileged accesses, or they can start any privilege escalations just because you trust them. You trust everybody. And if you, again, search and read the news, insider threat, theft. Search this. It's happening at least every 2 months. Some people are doing this professionally. Unrestricted access, privilege, and account hunting. And then we have, of course, the misconfiguration. You need to set up your baseline, and you need to catch the misconfiguration. This is a big effort, absolutely. Manpower and automated tools, but it's really necessary. Now, if we see some numbers on the trends. So from Q1 2018 to Q1 2019, this is business only, 500% ransomware grew in business. So I spoke with a lot of companies, and they say, nobody knows me. Why they should attack me? They don't need to know you. They know you have a business running. They know you have money. They know if they ransom your system, you are going to pay because maybe you don't have backup, or maybe they encrypt also the backup if you have them connected live. So you are, what they say, a sitting duck. Being a company today is like getting mugged in the street. You are just unlucky. You exposed yourself. You need to secure everything as much as possible. It's not really readable, but 48% of malicious email attacks are from Office, fake Office files. Who doesn't open Word, Excel, PowerPoints? Everybody. PowerShell. This is something that is really overlooked. That's why it grew so much, 1,000%. PowerShell is so powerful, and it's enabled on all of your servers, even old version of PowerShell. Go and have a look afterwards. The PowerShell script can obfuscate malware, and your antivirus is not picking it. And again, mobile ransomware. The more we move away from laptops, the more we get mobile, the more we get on tablets and cell phones. We run business everywhere. Mobile ransomware is growing, is the next. Now, what to expect from the future? Because it looks even uglier than what I'm telling you. Cloud. Cloud, cloud, cloud. We saw it in all the presentation. Misconfiguration and vulnerable code. So everybody thinks about the functionality, but nobody is embedding security, or you really need to teach your developers, especially if you are engaging developers from external company. You need them to engage in securing the code in the build phase. IoT. IoT is a monster. And now that companies start to looking into it, if I ask you yourself to think about your company, where you have IoTs, you will say, no, nowhere, maybe. Few, because everybody think on the smartwatch. But in reality, each elevator has sensor, and they are IoT. Each badge reader is an IoT. So there are systems that are IoTs, and they are used while the office is built, and you find them on your network, because they don't know where else to attach it. You cannot patch them. If a firmware exists, you don't know who is going there to update it. So start to isolate them. Supply chain. That's money-making place for a lot of company, and the most vulnerable. Again, you cannot patch, you cannot secure. What to do? Isolate, enforce. There are also some software that are freezing the configuration and DLLs on your machines. Have a look on them. Zero trust networks. Trust is a vulnerability. Don't give it to anybody, especially on your internals. Even your admins. Do you have a behavior analysis tool for your admins? Are they doing what they are supposed to do? And persistent threats. So, if you have been targeted once successfully, you will be a recurrent target. They are not letting you in peace. They know they succeeded. So you can expect them coming again. And we come to the last suggestions. You enhance the visibility and improve inventories. So, with agent base, you will see more than what is in your inventories. If inventories were perfect, making security will be really easy. And I also been in a lot of discussion, and they say, yes, I'm scanning everything, it's in our inventory. But servers that are abandoned, the servers that are not in the inventory, are servers that are out of sight, servers that are not patched. So they are the attack vector for you. Regular team engagements. So you can buy them as a service, and it's different by pen testing. So the pen testers have only one interest: taking your money, because it's a single engagement, and get to the target in the easiest and shortest way possible. And if you really look on some pen testing results, if you run them normally, you can see maybe they used and exploit some really easy vulnerabilities that you should have patched. Then you go back to IT and they say, yeah, we didn't patch this server for this reason. But is this helping you reach the shortest path to the crown jewel, to your main server? Yes and no. Red teaming is telling you what you should do on a much broader perspective. If there is an existing patch, the red team is just telling you, okay, you should patch this, but the problem is that you are using an unencrypted protocol here, or that you have distrust between Active Directories, or that the user that can access this can laterally move to 2,000 servers. You have one account for running the backup of all the servers. That account is as powerful as the domain admin account. Check. Drive automated remediation. This is something that the business will not like much, but you cannot be ahead manually of all the threats. You need to implement automation, and you need to solve some of the common issues that you have. Sometimes it may happen that you will break some application because they rely on, again, some really wide open protocols, configuration. They cannot authenticate on share. The applications will just start malfunctioning. But you would have covered the other 98% of issues. That is what interests you. Define policies for least privilege principle. This is the example, again, of the account, of the backup account. Check. Even run, as I suggested before, even run Bloodhound in your company. It's a tool that tells you, without having any privilege, it scans the last login and the Kerberos tickets on all the Windows machine and tells you which account logging where and which servers are susceptible to the pass the hash. You will be surprised. If one admin can access 50, 70% of your environment, that account is dangerous. It's really dangerous. Cloud and security containers. Again, you need to have visibility there because it's really volatile. And that's probably also the place where you want to automate also the response. It will cause some discomfort to the developers because, of course, they like to play. The DevOps is thought for them. But it will secure the company much more. IoT and supply chain isolation and monitoring. Usually there is a passive monitoring. So don't let the people tell you, do not scan my network. You have passive scanner, you have passive detector. They are also pretty good. You will be surprised of the information that goes there in clear text. And support and drive security awareness campaign related to phishing and hardened endpoints. So you know in the end of the day you will have an amount of employees that are going to open the attach, that are going to click, that are going to open a link with a non-updated browser. At the same time, you harden the endpoints, but don't rely also on that. The less episode of these you have means also the less response. And we spoke yesterday in a roundtable about false positive. When humans see too many false positive, they start to overlook the real events. So make sure that the people working on your security receive real events because your users are educated. And I think I arrive in the end. So I have to thank my wife. It's a standard. She also reviewed my slide. My management allowed me to be here, and the colleagues helped me to build this. What I ask you to is to reach out to me with all of your experience and all the sharing that you can do. Sharing between ourselves is the most powerful thing we can do to help each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much.